The people who have AI and use it properly are better than the ones who don't use it, right? And it's becoming more efficient.
Welcome to the Prosper Brief. Today, we have Paul Barron sitting down with Robin Schweitzer, Vener, and Geoff Alexander. These three visionary leaders are pushing the boundaries of customer loyalty and digital branding. This episode is packed with insights to keep your brand ahead of the curve. Let's get into it.
All right, so welcome in here to the Prosper Forum. My name is Paul Barron. I'm going to be your co-host today with some people I think that know me well, but we've had a chance to do a session here at Prosper. Fantastic session, by the way. You guys killed it.
People seem to like it.
I think they did. I think the idea around tech and integration into the space was a good timing.
We just followed the moderator.
Follow the moderator. Well, this is the Prosper Brief, and it's a podcast being produced by, of course, the Prosper team. With me, of course, today is Robin Schweitzer, who is coming in from Patronix, Vener from Dog Haus, and, of course, Geoff Alexander from Wow Bao. All right, so let's get into it, guys. We're going to continue our conversation that we had on stage, which I thought was fantastic. You guys all hit it out of the park. But I want to kind of revisit one of the areas that each of you focused in on. You know, now that I had a chance to kind of listen to your responses, we'll start with you, Robin. And one of the things I think that was kind of interesting was the amount of innovation that Patronix is doing. And I want you to hit on the key things that you were talking about a little bit with the integrations of advancements in loyalty, and then one on the area of AI integration, how you guys are playing that.
Sure. I'll start with the AI. Like I had said earlier, the AI tool that we're building and continue to work on is really about enhancing segmentation as we know it and being able to be more personalized one-to-one, really getting to the one-to-one,
right,
which is the holy grail. So we're constantly working on that in regards to, like I had mentioned earlier, whether that's menu optimization or secret menus. It's the IA is trained to look at and understand what's going on based on each guest.
For sure.
So it's able to talk to that and work back with you on it. And as far as your second question?
The integration of loyalty advancements. So some of the tech that you guys are rolling out with, you know, new waves of loyalty. You kind of mentioned to a little bit on stage about it.
Yeah. I think, you know, in like what you're seeing in gaming and what you're seeing in all the virtual reality, those are the next steps that we have to be able to build for our customers to be able to be integrated into those atmospheres. And the gaming world is going to be the next social media for that generation, and especially the A's that are coming up living in that world. And so Patronix is always looking at what's next, not even just for the customer, but the customer's customer.
Right, sure.
What are they looking for? And the clarity around the definition of loyalty. That's another thing that I think is really important, is really clarifying that definition by segment.
Yep. Andre, I had a chance to kind of get in your head about how a brand comes to terms with the speed in which innovation is happening.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing it?
Well, first of all, as being a leader, I really embrace my staff to be out there, going to the conferences, learning about it, learning everything that's going on in the technology side of it, and just paying attention to it. Because we're a franchise business, so we have to deal with our franchisees. And when they come to us and mention the word AI, blockchain, we have to have answers on what we're doing and how we get into that. I think just like Geoff's company, Geoff and myself, we've always kind of been cutting edge, being one of the leaders in the space to try something new. And it's okay to try something, and it's okay to make mistakes. But I think you have to be out there always investing in the future. And so for us, it's always a question of making this decision, how does it help us get to our goals? What are some of the goals? Like owning our customer is a very important thing, taking care of our customer. And the other thing is, what's our bandwidth and what's our budget?
Yeah, for
right.
Sure.
So we've always put in 5% into the future, and it's something that I think we have to be current in.
Well, I think the commitment is the key here, because some brands just won't go out on that rope. You know, it's a little too sensitive for them, or maybe they had some fails.
But every once in a while, I think as you're investing in these different things, something's going to take off.
Exactly.
And it's going to hit. And we were ahead of the game in delivery. We were ahead of the game in virtual brands, ghost kitchens. And if we didn't have all that dialed in before the pandemic, it would have been a rough pandemic for us. And instead, that crisis was an opportunity for us to like double down. And so we don't know what the next thing is. I think Geoff said it eloquently on stage, which was, our kids, this next generation, are doing things that we don't do.
Right.
And like it's literally the example you mentioned about the Instagram and the Facebook. As soon as, I'm on Facebook, the kid's like, I'm on Instagram. I don't want to be that. And then all of a sudden we jump on the Instagram and they're on in the gaming world. So that's just trying to be out there and diversifying yourself is important.
For sure. I don't think the restaurant industry has been recognized as early adopters, but the good thing is we have some early adopters here. Yeah. So Geoff, let's get with you. You guys are doing a lot in the way of advancements around this. Let's share a little bit about the Roblox program and tell me about the Hot Buns Club.
Yeah, thank you. So when you talk about the restaurant industry as not being early adopters, I mean, we can't move at the speed that everyone else does because of the investment is so large, POS change or new technology coming in. I mean, you and I spoke earlier, and I had said that technology has never moved faster than it is today, but it'll never be moving this slow again, right?
Exactly.
And so you can just not keep up with what's happening. And for the restaurant, for the amount of people with turnover and training and where the other expenses lie, especially in this day and age, it's very hard to make those investments. But as Andre is saying about early adopter, and you're asking about Roblox, we see the advantage of the gaming community right now, and how not only how large that community is right now, but how small it is now to what it will become.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that are in this realm, and they're of a younger generation, a generation that my generation doesn't know and doesn't identify with and doesn't understand. But by having children, which I do, and younger employees, you have to know where the future is going and what's happening.
Sure.
And we invested in with Roblox for a number of reasons. One, it's 70 million users, so there's an entire customer base that you can communicate with. It became a medium for us where we can demonstrate use of technology, use of being younger clientele, but it also allowed us to talk about our frozen grocery product, our hot food vending machines, our awards that we won, pictures of food, and engagement with community that is in that realm. So we took our loyalty program, which is powered by Patronix, and gave people the ability to join Roblox and participate in the awards that we give out. And the rewards that we're giving out in the game is there's a head that you can collect and put on your character. There's a way for you to get a free box of Wow Bao from your local grocery store, which is in real life. And to do that, not only do you have to play the game, but you have to connect your Roblox account to our rewards program that we did. So we're growing our customer base. Now we're able to communicate. Now we have brand ambassadors. And now we're somewhere where the next generation is.
Well, I think the key here that you guys have all kind of touched on is the gamification of brand. So with you've done it literally within some of the deployments you guys. Andre's doing it now with some of the rollouts you guys are doing with integrations, both on the loyalty apps that you're using with Devour, but also the integrations of brand IP, starting to take Dog Haus brand IP, Wow Bao brand IP, and putting it into places not typical, like, general, it's social media, it's the traditional digital marketing. This is a new, component, I think, of where technology is going. When you look at Patronix and the advancement of the tech community within food service today, and the key cornerstones have been AI. There's a little bit of blockchain starting to flow in as a framework for loyalty. And then, of course, we're going to see the AR, VR integrations going forward. Is there one that you guys are kind of focusing in on?
We're looking at all of them because I think they're all going to be important, and there's going to be different segments that use them. I think certainly the blockchain from security,
right,
and the ability to, the digital, the Z's and the A's digitally are willing to give you data, but because they live with that, they live giving you data. But I think the future, they also don't want anything criminal going on with their data, so you have to prove to them. And I think blockchain is going to play a big part of that.
Well, it's a huge security component because, of course, it's immutable.
Right.
And the fact that it's an open network now being built on for the first time. And the way I explain it to a lot of people, if you go back in the mid-'90s at the birth of the internet, a lot of what was happening in terms of the infrastructure of just building the internet and the protocols that were being used are the same protocols now, not necessarily the same, but the comparison to what's happening in blockchain. So you're right, to that very point. I think it's going to be huge.
I think that's going to be really important to that segment. That
Well, data privacy, digital ID,
the whole thing, right? It's coming.
What I think is important about that is you're discussing blockchain, and like when we were in the room today doing it, I don't know if the audience that was in the room fully understands what we're doing, right? But that doesn't mean that we're talking to this audience.
Exactly.
There's a different audience that's coming up and coming, right? And the leaders of organizations, you can't talk to today's generation only, because today's generation is going to outgrow you. They're going to move from you. They're going to, unfortunately, at some point, pass on. Right?
Get outside your comfort zone, man.
Exactly. You have to talk to the next generation and the one behind that.
Yeah.
And if you think about the early days of email,
exactly,
and how many people you did business with who didn't have email back then, right? You talk about
I don't remember that far back, Geoff.
Okay, well, I'll give you today's right now. I leave voicemail.
Okay.
The amount of people who text me and then say, I don't listen to voicemail.
Totally.
Or they like their
My kid.
voicemail is full, right? Like it's not full.
son.
They
I just never checked
right?
it.
Because they just expect to text. But my generation, we want to pick up the phone and call somebody. This generation doesn't want to do that. They want instant text messaging. So when you talk about blockchain and NFT and the growth and the exponential reality that we're doing, right? All of these things that are coming and that are early stages right now. When you look at where it's going to be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, we're not even going to talk about this stuff because that generation's everyday life, and we're going to be on to the next thing. So the leaders of today have to learn this stuff and embrace their younger employees who do understand it, because it's only going to move, like I said, very quickly away from it and into the next thing.
And I will say that somebody like Patronix has to pay attention to making it easy for that integration between loyalty and being in that gaming world. Frictionless, easy for me to sign up.
That's always the biggest thing with technology is a gap in it all speaking to each other.
Well, not only from an operational standpoint, but from your customer-facing standpoint.
Membership.
Well, there's also a financial component. Right? The people who create this from a technology standpoint has to make it affordable for the restaurant operators to bring it into the restaurants. And that piece is missing.
So Andre, you guys are doing this now. I've been in your restaurants I remember I had a chance, we did a Fast Casual Nation down in your stores, one of your first stores. I was amazed that it was the first time I walked into a Dog Haus. The amount of just brand love that you guys have from your consumer. How can you take that and leverage it into this digital space?
And I think it's literally what Geoff was doing on the Roblox. You need to, that whole experience in that Roblox is your brand. And for us, everything comes down to our brand. I've always said, like, people say the word virtual brands, I call them digital brands. It is a brand. One of my biggest mistakes in technology was thinking I could create a virtual brand and just turn them on the 3PDs, and that didn't work. But all of a sudden, when I launched a brand, press release, swag, going to the schools with AYSO, putting the virtual brand on the jerseys, all these kinds of things, it's actually is a brand. It's a digital brand. It's the way that they still want to connect to the brand. So I think branding's the with technology here, you have to have it help what your goal is, but we need to go back to also the roots of it's still food. It's still hospitality. You can do whatever you want on technology. You can have whatever, but we still have to also protect the brand and make sure that the food's done right, it gets there on time, it's safe. While using these technologies to help advance.
I think you should also talk, Andre, about collaborations as a way to help grow your brand and the other brand, and the collaborations you just do in your own branding of how everything is powered by Dog Haus and how you play off of one. I mean, I think there's great value in that.
I think I said that on stage. Collaborations, I think, is the number one help for our brand. I said I said, like, if you look at anybody's playlist on Spotify, the younger generation, it's the number one songs isn't Post Malone, isn't Taylor Swift. It's Post Malone with Taylor Swift. It's always like that. And for us as a young, small brand, we're 60 units. We need to hang with the big boys. And so we do a lot of collaboration with the bigger brands. And so as much as you could, every time you're helping somebody, they're also helping you. I mean, No Kid Hungry is our charity. We help them. We write a big check every year. They're helping us too because we're hanging out with that brand, right? And so we've when we did what Geoff was talking about, when we created our virtual brands, from day one, we put on their bags, powered by Dog Haus. We didn't hide. It wasn't some food coming out the back of some kitchen. This was powered by Dog Haus. It's our brand. And if they love our brand and they're passionate about our brand, then why aren't they going to try the Badass Breakfast Burrito?
Sure, of
right?
course.
If Dog Haus makes it, it must be good. It must be high quality. It must be fun.
Okay, so let's get into the layer of, you think about building teams, all right? And you talk about this, you were talking about it on stage, really trying to migrate the operation around this because the teams are younger now, much more diverse, very technical and savvy, may not have all the skill sets there, but they understand these certain trends, may not identify where those trends are going. So how are you guys leveraging in against building the right kind of teams to deal with the future of where this is going? Any of you guys can take that.
Yeah, I'll start if you don't mind. So, we have in our office, so we're a big bullpen. It's an open room with 45 stations. We have about 23 seats that are being utilized. But everyone has their laptop, then they have another screen they're working off, and they have their phone. And if you look at it, they're using all of this technology differently. One might be for personal use, one might be communication through the office, right? Because no one talks to each other, right? It's all Slack or whatever it may be. And then one of what the project they're working on. And I walk around the office and not only do I interact, but I see the technology that's being used. And you have to take advantage of the younger minds and how they're interacting with one another and what they're looking at and what it is they're doing and how can you utilize that technology or what they're working on or what they're playing with and then bring it into the restaurant, and outside of just the employee base, I have a wonderful 14-year-old son and I have a great 25-year-old daughter. And I was teasing and I said that my 25-year-old daughter is like a translator from my generation to this generation, right? Because I can still converse with her, but I can't converse with him the same way. And when you pay attention to the way people use their apps, use their technology, what they want the technology to be able to do today that it's not doing yet. Yeah. I mean, there's so much learning out there. You just have to be open and receptive to be willing to learn it and to embrace it. And too many leaders think, I can't afford it. I don't think it's right for my brand. I don't want to use it. We've never done it before. And these are all roadblocks. You have to just look at how the world is progressing and then embrace the opportunities.
And I think one of the things is key with this generation that's in our office. We have a pretty young office. Is you need to learn how to speak to them. And what I really learned about was with using the chat GPT. If you say who you are and what the question is, and you say it accurately,
I saw your prompt.
You will actually get the correct thing.
Yeah.
And I believe that I a lot of times think I said something correctly to my team, but I didn't really communicate. So I think what this technology is helping me do is be a better listener and try to be a better communicator. And if you speak to some of the staff, literally, like you would to the prompt, then you're going to get better results. And we use that always as a brainstorming session too, right?
For sure.
So if I'm going to go to a designer and I want to design the banner for the firework show that Geoff put on last night, like I will talk, these are my keywords, this is what I want, and we'll use that and create a logo. And then so here's the inspiration for your actual hard work, right? Because you can't take out the soul and our culture. Yeah. The technology is not gonna replace that. What I always say is AI is help. The people who have AI and use it properly are better than the ones who don't use it. Right? And it's becoming more efficient. And so it's not like it's replacing anybody, but I can tell you if you're not using the technology, you will be replaced by people who are.
I've kind of eliminated even the use of search. Now I'm using Perplexity or Chat or Claude. When you look at building teams in the development side, now you're a technology company, you need a whole roster of engineers. These are people that are thinking about things differently than engineers 10 years ago.
Sure.
How are you guys dealing with that kind of situation?
Yeah, I think it's really important both on the internal side of bringing those talented people in and the younger generation that can think what's next.
Yep.
But I also think what keeps me up is making sure that Patronix keeps intact with getting the consumer on their side of the business frictionless and easy to use.
For sure.
And it gets in there, because if we don't make it easier for them or frictionless for them, they're just not going to
Yeah.
They're just not going to buy into
Well,
it.
and that's the key. You're right, Robin. Is making it simple for the operators, making it simple for the consumer,
Yeah.
integrating all that in, but still being bleeding edge to where you're always bringing kind of new
New
innovations.
stuff in. Yeah.
I totally
think,
get that.
I think just playing off what Andre was saying before and what you're saying right now is you originally said you need to speak to the employee and you're doing better with listening, and then you use the word communication and communicates 2 or 3 times. I think it's more about communication. I don't think it's about speaking to or listening with. I think the way this technology is growing,
Yeah.
it's a communication pathway, right?
Right.
And communication it seems more inviting. It seems more that you're bringing the people together, and that's really what I think all this technology is doing. Because it's
Sure.
growing community, and it's growing a way for us to interact with one another. And I think that's the big thing. It's not one way on either side.
Yeah, it's a great point you bring up, Geoff, because it reminds me of like coexisting with even the generational. If you're doing it correctly, you can satisfy the different generational needs because you're communicating each of the individual
Sure.
needs that they
And
have.
old loyalty programs was
Right.
very one way, right? It was
Right.
transactional.
It's-
You
yeah.
buy this and I send you that, right?
That's
Yeah.
it.
Now the new loyalty, especially with what's going on between what you can do with NFT and gamification, it's a two-way path in how you can work together.
Yeah, like it's a
to-
menu of what do you want to do with
100%.
it?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a menu of options that you now have with loyalty. That's what they want.
Yeah, I want to end up because you guys are leaning into the situation with Starbucks. They launched their Odyssey program. They backed off of it about a year ago, almost. I guess it was in March, and then of course their CEO. We saw a big fall off on their loyalty numbers, and it was mostly Gen Z. So departing from within Starbucks, executive change happening out there. So the key is can brands? And I know you're already there, but can brands? Do you feel? Can take their current existing loyalty programs, kind of reframe it and get ready for this next generation. That CEO even mentioned that they had lost connection with that generation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was a big statement from Starbucks.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think, Robin?
I really think that you've got to start. You have to start and analyze it and start in a way that you can handle it with your budget, with your resources, who you have,
Yeah.
but you must start. And I do think that if you start it, you guys will be able to carve out, even like you were talking about when you had a grant, be able to do what you needed to do. There's ways to get it done. You don't have to take it on like full bore.
Yep.
You have to take it on and start to learn from it.
Piecemeal it. Well, Starbucks, if they'd have started maybe a little bit before,
Yeah,
they probably
they
wouldn't have
would've
saw
learned.
that fall off. Yeah, so
Well,
that
look,
was...
it's learnings,
Yeah.
right? And so,
Well, they're figuring it out. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, I'll give you another example. You look at how McDonald's made this whole announcement. They did AI in drive-through, right?
Yes.
And then they killed it.
Yep.
Took it away. Let's say 2 things. First off, I just publicly traded company, in my opinion only, right? you can't kill it, right? Because there's too much opportunity to learn. I'll bet you they didn't kill it.
Yeah.
I bet
They're
they
just-
paused it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
in there
learned.
somewhere.
Yeah, that's
It's
somewhere.
somewhere
Yeah.
they're working on, and you're going to see it come back. And
No
that's
doubt.
the thing. What Starbucks did, maybe they killed it, maybe they didn't, maybe they're working on it behind the scenes. But the learnings that come out of it, that the smaller guys
Yeah.
can work faster
Sure.
and be
Can
more
apply.
maneuverable with it,
Right.
we can help them learn also. We can now try it and give them learnings,
Right.
and we can avoid the pitfalls that they went into.
And that's what's good with it. Like you said, the smaller companies like us, 60 units, it's easy to quick change something, move things,
Flip it around.
send an email around, flip it around. A massive company like that, you're dealing with it.
Yeah.
It's you got to put pause. And I agree with Geoff. It's a pause. They're coming
Yeah.
back, and you have to have it come
Yeah.
back.
And
Yeah.
I think
and it's
the-
going to be amazing when it comes back.
Right,
Yeah.
because they sometimes it's like we said
Even
earlier.
better.
You could fall. You're not failing. You could fall down.
Fall
You
forward.
really don't want to do it twice in a row. fall forward.
Sorry.
Fall forward.
No. The fast follow. You mentioned fast follow, Andre. If you're, you'd be in tune with the bigger brands that are trying stuff, but fast follow. Where were their failures?
Yeah.
Fast follow and pivot
Yeah.
to those things. So being really in tune with it, I think, is important. You can't ignore it.
Yeah, ignoring it. I was gonna say
It's just
ignoring
that-
it
it's
is the
just
wrong
not-
thing.
Yeah.
Now, us as leaders can ignore it as long as we're just telling our
got
team.
the team.
You gotta do
Yeah.
this.
Focus on it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that leads me to my last question, and that is when you think about this space, because we're here with brand leaders of all sizes, and you look at the industry right now. The makeup is starting to shift. We're seeing a younger leadership team starting to be developed. Do you think we're going to see, because the adoption curve, that we saw in 2007 to 2010. Social media came onto the scene. It was very slow at first, and then all of a sudden it hit. About 3 years in, social media became a huge impetus for a lot of these brands. Do you think that's going to be the case with AI, blockchain, AR, VR?
I personally think the technology is going to ramp up across the board. What I worry about is that the leaders today are going to embrace the technology of today, and by the time they input it or put it in place, it's going to be old.
Yes.
It's sort of like how the younger generation went to Facebook, as we were saying before, right? And then the grown-ups came there, they left, they went to Instagram, and we came there, they went to TikTok. If they put in the technology of today in 18 months as of today, people are going to leave
gone.
it. You have to look
Be
at
flexible.
how this is growing.
Yep.
You have to evolve and give feedback about what we need it to be able to do and push the envelope. Don't embrace today's in a period of time from now. It won't. No one's going to use it.
And I think you got to look at all the different categories that we talked about, like for blockchain for us and messing around with,
Yep.
investing with Devour or even doing some of our own blockchain stuff on our app, is that has a small budget and small allocation of bandwidth.
Yep.
That's not in our future. It's in the future, but we see that further. Right now, we're dealing with all the AI. How do we handle all the data that we're getting? I mean, I'm going to have full, 4 data analysts with all the stuff coming in, but how can some of this AI do that for you? How can we work with companies that do that? So right now, our big focus is AI, but we're also getting into the gaming space.
Yeah.
I mean, gaming for a Dog Haus beer garden is a real thing. Ours happens to be like, ping pong and foosball table gaming, but now people are going to start coming in with their, devices, and they're going to sit in the same beer garden.
Yeah, sure.
Instead of watching the football game, they're gonna VR.
Yeah.
And they're gonna have fun and have a beer with their friends and sit in the corner. And so I think gaming is something important, and it doesn't have to be digital all the time, but I always go back to, let's use this technology and be part of it somehow, so that when it is ready, as Jeff says,
you're ready
that we're on
pounce.
it. We've talked about, we even understand what the word means. When other people are like, oh shit, blockchain started.
You can't say that word.
Oh, sorry. That's the least bad word I've ever said. But no, just be involved. And I say everybody should try it somehow.
I like your guys' attitudes and ladies' attitudes, because you got to keep the mind open to this stuff. Understand you're still flexing around your current business models, but knowing that there's always that need there. So, ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your time.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in. If you're ready to level up your business with cutting-edge tech and forward-thinking strategies, don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay connected. We'll see you next time here on The Prosper Brief.